Hello, this week we are going to be focusing on kind of the history of fake news. Fake news isn't anything new. All we need to do is look back throughout history and we can see lots of different examples of when various groups try to sensationalize news stories, sometimes even just flat out make stuff up to sway public opinion one way or another. In the late 19th century, we had yellow journalism, which was kind of brought on and helped bring the United States and Spain into war in Cuba. In the late 1930s, Orson Welles had the famous broadcast, a radio broadcast of the War of the Worlds, where people thought that aliens were coming down to Earth. And so this has been happening for a long time, and it always kind of has a different purpose behind it. But we need to be focused on it now as educators even more, especially up with upcoming elections and things that are happening. We need to make sure that we are helping our students learn how to critically think and evaluate information for themselves. So, the ability to access, evaluate, and use high quality information can help lead to sound decision making, which will lead to positive civic action. However, if that doesn't happen, if that's disrupted, if instead people are seeking out or have only to look at low quality information, that can then lead to poor decision making, which can lead to negative civic action. A good example of this was in the UK in 2016, the Brexit vote. That vote has been largely accredited to social media mis and disinformation campaigns. And after that vote, and the UK decided to leave the European Union, many people in that country were like, wait, we didn't understand all of the facts. We just kind of saw these few things on social media. We were misled. And even some of them wanted to even try and have a revote, get out of that. But that's not the way that works. And they did eventually go through Brexit. I believe it's been um, I think it took them 4 or 5 years to do it, and it's been a couple of years since they actually left the European Union, and they've struggled economically. There's other things at play, of course, the pandemic and all the stuff everyone else has been dealing with, but it definitely had a major impact. The social media misinformation campaigns had a major impact on that election. So, thinking about the kinds of misinformation that are out there. First one is truly just that misinformation, false info that's spread regardless of intent to mislead, right? And so that can be a simple error, in today's 24-hour news cycle and everybody wants to be there first. There is a real tendency for journalists and other people to, oh, I see this thing, I want to be one of the first ones to get it out. So whether it's a person just resharing something and not having the time to fully vet it, or whether it's a journalist, maybe writing something up and putting it out there before they have fact checked and done their due diligence to make sure that it's correct. But the more that those kind of half truths get sent out there, the more believable they then become. Disinformation is when it's deliberately misleading. They know that this is misleading. They know this is biased. We're going to tell this story, but we're only going to tell it from this heavily biased one side. That's where a lot of our news stations or news, online channels and stuff are. We can go and look and we all know which ones are really heavily right and which ones are really heavily left. Some of them are just a little bit right, or some of them are just a little bit left. But finding truly unbiased information anymore is extremely difficult, which is why we encourage everybody to read articles or watch news segments from both sides so you can get a little bit more of a fuller picture. This also manipulative narrative facts and propaganda can fall into this category. Then there's malinformation, and that's the information that is that super shock value and that's intended to harm. This would be, it could be revenge porn. This could be an example of this completely manipulated photographs, video, audio, something that is completely made up with the intent to harm someone's personal reputation. And that's going to be a lot easier to do now, guys, with artificial intelligence. Now that anything can be manipulated and easily by people that are not professionals, this is going to be really, really hard for us and for our students to be able to tell. That's why it's going to make teaching literacy more important and more difficult in the next few years. Some of the sites that we're going to show you already address AI, and they have some AI lessons. As far as how to completely address AI, that would be a whole other grad course. So we're not going to address it completely in this course, but we do hope to kind of touch on it throughout the time. So in each week, at each resource that you see, if you can look for those AI lessons, that would be great. I think you'll get a better picture of where this is headed. So finally, this week, we really just want you guys to kind of look at this article about the age-old problem of fake news and take the week 1 quiz. And then we're going to have you explore Newseum ED. And the first thing we want you to look at is that media mix-ups throughout history, analyzing historical sources. Go ahead and take that lesson as if you were a student. But then look through the rest of Newseum ED and reply to the discussion board. Please respond to 2 classmates. We just want you to kind of look through there, see if there's anything that you think you could personally use in your classroom or that you think maybe you could share with a colleague. What do you kind of rate this particular resource as far as how it teaches media literacy? Have a great week. See you soon.